Okay, the purpose of this video segment is to give you some pointers on your presentation for your peer lesson. So a couple things to point out from here. It's important to recognize the time constraints with your lesson. You'll have 20 minutes, which is really not that much time. So you won't be able to, you might write a lesson plan for a full period lesson. You won't be able to do all of that in the 20 minutes. So what I want to make clear to you is you are going to be much better off if you pick a small chunk of material and you present it really well. All right, if you're trying to cram too much in and you're rushing, chances are very good that that type of thing will not play well on the scoring rubric. So something else that I want to point out to you, your unit's going to have some dry, boring parts because that's how math is, right? There's some parts that are kind of procedural and just not, super interesting and exciting. Your job is to showcase. All right, you want to pick the most interesting, exciting thing that you could possibly come up with from your unit, and that's what you want to present on. All right, so don't pick a topic that's dry and boring. And I understand because that's happened before where somebody was disappointed in their grade and they said, well, that would be a lesson I would have to do in my unit, right? But I had specifically said, pick something that's exciting and interesting. Like, yes, that dry, boring lesson would have been a requirement in your unit, but that's not what you want to do for this activity. You want to showcase your best stuff here. So looking at the rubric, and let me call your attention to a few things on here. So the anticipatory set, all right, so you want to have, and you probably won't have time to do what you might do if it were a real classroom. Like in a real classroom, you'd probably review the material from the day before for a few minutes. You're not going to have time to do stuff like that. So you'll probably need to just start right in with a good anticipatory set. So notice what is unsatisfactory, right? And I've seen this anticipatory set more times than I care to try to count, but just saying, okay, class, today we're doing this, and then you just get into the body of the lesson, that would be considered an unsatisfactory anticipatory set. So you're supposed to be trying to meet as many of these goals as possible. Body of the lesson. So what's really important is that you engage us. All right, you need to engage your audience in something that is worthwhile. Okay, this is really related. A lot of these rubric items intertwine. Correctness. So you're going to be graded on whether you're using correct and precise mathematical terminology throughout the lesson. And we've talked about things like not using the word it and those, right? But saying things precisely. So you're going to be graded on that. The clarity of your lesson. So I'm going to be thinking in terms of the audience would not know anything about what you're presenting. All right, would it be clear to somebody with limited knowledge? All right, you're presenting to your peers who already know all the math, but I'm going to be thinking and asking myself, if there were students sitting in the room, would they be able to understand the content based on your explanations and your presentation? Okay, so you're graded on clarity. So the student engagement part kind of goes back to the body of the lesson part, where you have to do something where we are engaged in some sort of task or activity or exploration. Maybe you're using technology, something like that. All right, so notice what is considered unsatisfactory. If we just sit there passively and listen to you talk and you do all the talking, that would be considered unsatisfactory. So you want to be engaging your audience, who will be your other peers that are in your group. And then finally, your presentation skill. So we've all had teachers before with like that monotone voice, or we've also had teachers who just, don't quite convey excitement or interest in what they're talking about. So you want to come into the room and bring an energy to your presentation. All right. You want to convince us that you're really doing some fun, awesome thing that you're really excited about. Okay. If your presentation lacks energy, students will tune you out very quickly when that's the case. And before we started on field visits, I used to supervise peer lessons all the time. That was a regular part of 302. And I'll tell you, for number one, that I want to put my head down and go to sleep, I would frequently feel that watching peer lessons. So that's what you really want to avoid making your audience feel like. So I hope this helped you get some ideas about what you should do to get a good score on this assignment.